So despite the addition of the transformer equipment and the need for AC generators, the AC power system provided a distinct cost advantage as compared to the DC system because of the far more efficient use of fuel resources and the considerable less amount of copper required in the transmission lines. In fact, an early AC to DC upgrade was entirely paid for by the value of the copper salvaged during the upgrade. So they were able to just take the copper that wasn't used when they switched from DC to AC, and the value of that scrap material paid for all the transformers and generators and everything like that because of the smaller conductors necessary due to the reduced current flows. So that doesn't mean AC was adopted immediately in the United States. There was a prolonged period where Westinghouse and Edison kind of competed against one another. But nowadays we exclusively use AC, although times are changing, as we'll see in this class. However, this two-wire AC system did pose some disadvantages. There were no AC motors commercially available. Previously, people had developed for the Edison system DC motors that did useful work, especially in the textile industry. The sinusoidal nature of AC caused lights to flicker on and off with the AC cycle. We saw that the AC waveform peaks and then goes negative and then peaks, so there are times when the AC voltage is zero. In fact, the average value of the AC voltage is zero, and that will cause lights to flicker. The sinusoidal nature of the AC system also delivers non-constant power, and this will become very apparent later on in the course. This is a big issue with AC systems. So in 1888, Nikola Tesla invented what is considered the first commercially available AC motor. So that solved the problem of no AC motor being in existence, so he licked that one. And then he simultaneously developed what we call the 60 hertz AC system. This means that the AC sine wave repeats 60 cycles per second, and Tesla chose this value because it worked better for his electric motors while being fast enough that humans could not notice light flickering due to the persistence of vision effect. So turns out that with AC systems, the lights are still flickering on and off. We just as humans can't see it, so it doesn't matter to us. If you were to videotape them and slow that tape down, you could see the lights turning off and on 60 times a second. The third problem of non-constant power was a little trickier to solve. So Tesla pretty quickly solved the first two. The third one took a little bit more work. In 1888, Tesla patented what is called the Polyphase System, consisting of generators, transformers, synchronous motors, and induction motors for transmission and utilization of 3 alternating currents occurring simultaneously. The generators used in the system were constructed to produce 3 AC voltages. Each of the voltages was 100 degrees out of phase. So here what we do is we have a diagram showing 3 voltages. We've got the original voltage, which is this black voltage here. We've got the second voltage that's being produced, which is this red voltage, and we've got this third voltage, the blue voltage. And those are being transmitted simultaneously in the power system. And you'll notice that the phase angle between the peaks is always 120 degrees. So from A to B is 120, from B to C is 120. This 3-phase system can be utilized to deliver constant power to loads. And although the term polyphase can technically be used to describe any system using 2 or more alternating currents and voltages with some phase shift between them, in the modern vernacular it's almost exclusively used to refer to systems composed of 3 separate phases. And this is what exists in the modern power system today. If you go outside and you look at your utility poles that line your street, you'll notice that there are typically 4 wires. 3 of the wires are for voltages, 1 for each, and then the third is a common neutral. Much smaller typically. So we call it a 3-wire AC distribution system, a polyphase distribution system, or sometimes people just call it the 3-phase system. I think 3-phase being by far the most common. Since its invention by Tesla in 1888, the Tesla Westinghouse 3-phase system has been almost exclusively employed for electrification projects worldwide, up to and including modern times. Over the first 90 years of its existence, electricity consumption in the United States doubled about every 10 years, and current growth is kind of dropped off to about 1% per year. During this time, different load profiles, backup in case of equipment failures, and economic benefits have caused neighboring utilities to gradually interconnect, gradually resulting in our kind of massively interconnected system. So here we have the growth of the interconnected 3-phase polyphase system in the United States. Starting in about 1885, there were isolated plants, so it was a plant connected to a load. And then starting at about 1910, we created these isolated systems where you would get the kind of local utilities. They'd have lots of generators connected to lots of loads and more distinct, but it was still an isolated system. GE owned theirs, and the city of New York owned theirs. They didn't connect. In 1935, we really, up into 1960, we started connecting regions, say a city connecting with another nearby city, or a city connecting with some of the rural people who lived around it. So we started creating these larger connections. And then 1960 to 1985 was the interregional. We started connecting the different regions. So all of the eastern United States connected in a single large grid, all of the western United States connected in a single large grid with some DC ties connecting in between. And that's kind of where we sit at today. Today we have these 5 synchronous AC connected power supplies existing in North America that use the Tesla Tesla Westinghouse AC 3-phase system. So here in Indiana we live in what's called the Eastern system, or the Eastern Interconnect. The next largest one is the Western system, or the Western Interconnect. You can see that the Eastern and the Western system are connected across the Rocky Mountains with some DC voltage sources. So we said that most of the system is AC. Well, there's a little bit of DC in there, and we'll talk about the reasons why that is in later lectures. That Western system is directly connected to Canada, Western Canada, so US and Canada share a little bit, as does Baja, Mexico, right here. The Eastern Interconnect, we connect to Central Canada and Eastern Canada, so Manitoba, places like that. Quebec, they connect to the whole system with their own DC system. Quebec's almost its own utility. The state of Texas regionally is its own electric grid. I guess they're preparing for secession or something down there. They got their own grid, and it's connected only to the Eastern system, and it's through DC ties. And then, with the exception of Baja, Mexico, we don't connect to the country of Mexico really at all. You see, there's no DC ties or anything, so we don't even share a grid with them.